Greetings, everyone. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to the fourth episode of the NextGen Podcast. This is once again Bradford Starn coming to you on behalf of Northside Christian Church and the NextGen Ministries there. Just talking to you guys, trying to connect as much as we can and speak as much truth as we can into just this crazy time with this whole coronavirus pandemic, and as we all stay at home and try to flatten this curve, we're hopefully moving toward trying to get back face-to-face with each other as soon as we can, but obviously we got to do this to make that happen. So here we are, kind of doing our best. Hope you guys are all doing well. From what I have spoken to, all of you out there that are listening to this and are part of our ministry, you guys are doing pretty good. One of the things we did last week that was a lot of fun is we did a meetup on Friday online and played a little Fortnite. Now, I know there's a lot of people that, give Fortnite a hard time and it's lame and everything, but hey, it's a free game that you can play across all platforms, and thus it's able to gather people. So right now, I'm in that camp of whether I love Fortnite or don't like Fortnite. It's a great way for us just to get together and hang out and even just talk and be stupid. So be on the lookout for an announcement about when we're going to do that again, because we're going to do it again pretty soon because that was a lot of fun. And yeah, if you're like me, I've found I'm like weirdly busy and then also non-busy at the same time. Days are just kind of like flying by, and it's just weird. It's really weird, especially this week as we move toward Easter. It's just, I don't know. Easter is kind of one of my favorite holidays, specifically as being a part of the church, that you get to kind of gather everyone and get to see everyone that you normally don't get to see. So I know when we do get back together as a church, when we get back together as a high school ministry, there's going to be a lot of just, it's just going to be a really great time. One of the things that we're working on for Easter is at Northside is we kind of had got some video messages from a bunch of people who are members at our church and people that we see a lot. And Jasmine had put that together the other day, and she wanted me to take a look at it just to see what I thought. And man, it was emotional just getting to see people smiling, getting to see faces you don't get to see, getting to see faces and hearing voices of people that you hope are all right. So I don't know. I'm very intrigued to see what church is going to look like on the other side of this, because I think we're going to really treasure some things that we normally take for granted. And that kind of spins us off into what I wanted to talk about today. Yesterday I didn't throw up, but yesterday I put up on Instagram. That would be bad if that happened. I would be worried for myself if I was throwing up, but I didn't throw up. I put up on Instagram a little bit of a poll, and we got some responses in that. And I just asked the simple question of like, what are you missing the most during this time? And here are a couple of the things I got as responses. Number one, and the most popular answer, was friends. Obviously, we are all missing our friends. We are missing our families. We're missing the people that we like to spend time together with and do things. I was fortunate enough to be part of the group that was tasked with recording worship for our Sunday services a couple weeks ago. And I think it was, it's been like 3 weeks ago or maybe even 4 weeks ago now that we recorded that very first one. And afterwards, it was before they had really started shutting things down. We got a chance to go to Melt up in Fairlawn, and there was like 8 of us there. And man, that was a really good time. It feels like it was forever ago. But just getting to gather around the table and break bread, and whether it was, highly caloric grilled cheeses, man, it was just, man, that's something I treasure and something that I won't take for granted anytime soon. Even just getting together, recording those videos has been such a lifeline when we were doing them. Man, it's just good stuff. And it's been hard to, being on this side of things in ministry. I sent a video to the church the other day kind of talking about this very thing. Man, just getting to be with people is just really lacking right now. I know for me, but for a lot of us, just getting together and do stuff. The other thing that someone had said was, half price apps at Applebee's. As much as I can't stand Applebee's, I would go for some half price apps right now, with a group of people that I love and care for. And, yeah, I don't know if, some of our like dumb preferences and opinions might disappear after this because we might cherish these things. But I'd go for some mozzarella sticks and some quesadillas right now at Applebee's or wherever. I mean, I would go to McDonald's and just hang out. I would go to people know me know. I would even take Burger King if it meant hanging out with people. Yeah, so there's two of the main things that people said were friends, half-price apps. Someone had said soccer and watching sports, period. Man, I would take a bad Cavs team or a bad Indians team right now to actually not watch things that were recorded like 25 years ago. Man, it's fun to watch those, but it just doesn't beat something that you don't know what's going to be in the outcome. Just kind of something spontaneous and unknown. Any kind of new content is good, which is, the heart of what I hope these podcasts and the live feeds and the daily studies are for you guys. Is it's just new content that you don't know what's going to happen. I've tried to rewatch some shows and they just, I don't know. It's a season where I want new things. It's not a season where I want to watch something I've seen 10,000 times. So I just found that interesting. And then someone else had said, gymnastics and just being able to get out and do the things that we really like. And again, it's that idea of gathering with people. So that's just been on my mind a lot, and kind of what I wanted this episode to focus around is the things that we're missing, and whatever that might be for you. I was able to talk just a little bit ago about, those things for me. In ministry, like my entire job, my entire life is based around being around people. And there's like a purpose to it. It's not just always just like sitting and like doing nothing. There's a purpose and a mission and a goal towards all of it, which is obviously pushing people toward Christ. But right now that's just kind of like lacking, other than literally looking into my computer screen at a green light on my iMac to record this. Just doesn't have the same feel to it that meeting face to face with people, or doing a Wednesday night, or leading worship on a Sunday morning, or just walking down the halls of the church have. So that's going to be really good when that can happen again. And so what I wanted to kind of do is just kind of come at you guys with some scripture today. Like I said, my lack of kind of ideas and thoughts in this season, I think are going to surface in this podcast, because I don't have a whole lot to talk about. Not a lot has really been happening. Now, obviously, we are in Easter week, and that's what we've been trying to capture with some of our daily studies we've been putting out there, is just traveling through Scripture. Because I think the one thing that is going to resonate the most right now is truth, and being able to rely on that. And one of those things is being able to rely on God's promises. We are in, this time of uncertainty, and it's just so hard because we don't know what's on the other side of this. For me, my parents and I had a trip planned to go to Disney in middle of May. And odds are that's probably not going to happen. That trip is just not going to happen. So at some point we're going to get those cancellations. We're going to get those refunds. I'm going to miss that. And I don't know when it's going to be rescheduled, and we don't know when we could reschedule it. We don't know if that's, June, July. Something I saw today said that, Disney parks were looking to possibly like start getting back into things maybe July. Normal operations with twists by August. That's a long way away. And for me, that caused a lot of things into doubt. And I'm trying not to let those things, control my mind, like camp, like CIY, day camp, just a lot of things, like a Cedar Point trip. Like, what's Cedar Point going to look like? I think a lot of that stuff, if we focus on it, can overwhelm us and spiral us into a bad place. And so what I want to bring you guys today is just some scripture. Some of it might be a little bit familiar to you guys. Some stuff that we've kind of want to build off of things that we had been doing here before we were forced to take a break. But just this idea of God's promises. And, God's promises are so much truer than the things that we wrap ourselves up in. I love I love getting together on Sunday nights and watching Walking Dead. A lot of people hate on the show Walking Dead, and it's not great all the time. But that's been taken away. And, they couldn't even finish the season finale. So as of right now, there's going to be no more new episodes of that, which has been kind of a refuge for me on Sunday nights, to actually watch something new. And you feel that community, even though we're all in different places, potentially watching that at the same time. And God's promises are bigger than that. God's promises are bigger than a finishing of a Cavs season when they're not going to make the playoffs. God's promises are bigger than the Indian season starting up. God's promises are bigger than new content on Disney Plus or Netflix or, movies like Mulan, which we would have already seen by now, coming out, or Wonder Woman or Black Widow or any of these movies that we were excited about seeing. God's promises are bigger than those. And I don't want to come from a place where I'm demeaning any of these things that we're talking about, like referencing. But God's promises are so much bigger than those. Those things are good. Those things are beneficial and can be beneficial. But God's promises are so way bigger than that. And we have to know that He is still here and that He can fill those gaps. And my prayer is that we aren't finding ourselves out there feeling empty, because we're not filling it with anything. Now is the time, and I feel like this has been we've said this over and over again in every single thing we've done lately. Now is the time to lean into God. God is going to be the one who's going to fulfill us in this, when nothing else is. And maybe there's some part of this that we can learn, that God is the thing that doesn't go away, not this other stuff. This other stuff is temporary. This other stuff is just a mist. But God is solid. And in John chapter 16, I love this idea where Jesus is talking to his disciples, and they're finally starting to put together the pieces that Jesus is the Son of God, that He is the Messiah, and He's kind of giving them that information. And at the end of it, He says, Jesus answered them, "Do you finally believe?" And this is from the Message. "In fact, you're about to make a run for it, saving your own skins and abandoning me. But I'm not abandoned. The Father is with me. I've told you all this so that by trusting me, you will be unshakable and assured, deeply at peace. In this godless world, you will continue to experience difficulties, but take heart, I've conquered the world." And I just thought, man, that's just been kind of running over and over. That theme in my head is that we are ironically all separated out, and we're in our homes and we're hiding. not because we are afraid, but because this is what it is right now. And knowing that truth, that God, that Jesus, everything is so much bigger, that we can be, as this says, unshakable and assured, deeply at peace, because we know that God has already overcome this. Regardless of what happens to our physical bodies, God has already conquered the grave. God has already conquered sin. And that is the week we're in the middle of. That is the thing we're getting ready to celebrate. So while I will miss all those things about Sunday, Easter, the thing that I am celebrating is still just as alive as ever. It is alive. It is breathing. Christ still 2,000 years ago conquered death from rising from the grave, and he conquered sin on that cross. And there's nothing that can be taken away about that. So regardless of where we find ourselves, regardless of what moods we're in or what we're missing, the thing we have to know and the thing we have to lean on is that very celebration, that Christ is still reigning high by conquering sin, by conquering the grave, by conquering death. And that ties into the second kind of verse I wanted to tie into today, and that's in Romans 12, which we talked about, is about what it looks like to be spiritual beings. We talked about this on our Wednesday nights in our studies, where we talked about spiritual beings, things like angels, things like demons, all this kind of stuff. And we finished it with talking about how we are called to be spiritual beings, and we are called to look different. We are called to come back to God. And in Romans 12, it talks a lot about that. That's where we get this idea of therefore be transformed, not conformed to this world, but be transformed by it, by the new renewal of your mind. And in this, it says this idea here in Romans 12 that Paul's talking about. He says, I'm speaking to you out of deep gratitude for all that God has given me, and especially as I have responsibilities in relation to you, living then as every one of you does in pure grace. It's important that you not misinterpret yourselves as people who are bringing this goodness to God. No, God brings it all to you. The only accurate way to understand ourselves is by what God is and by what he does for us, not by what we are and what we do for him. And it's this idea that while we are stuck here seemingly not doing anything, while we are stuck here not being able to do any of the things we like, even leave our homes, gather together, that our hope doesn't come from those things. Our hope comes from Christ. Christ is our identity, beginning, end, middle, all of it. God is it. And I just want that to be an encouragement for you, to maybe take some time, whether that's today or that's as we move toward Easter, to just sit in that truth and know, like this says in the message, and I wanted to bring it from the message just because I love that. God brings it all to you. This is in verse 3. The only accurate way to understand ourselves is by what God is and by what he does for us and what he did for us, not by what we are and what we do for him. So I just want to encourage you all that while we are in this place of not being able to do the things we love or experience the things we love or see the people or spend the time with the people that we love, God is still here. God is literally in this room right now. And I would go as far as saying I believe God is in these very words that I'm speaking to you right now to pass along this truth, that he loves you so much that 2,000 years ago, he sent his son to die for you on a cross. That in the darkest moments, in the darkest seasons, in the places where you are stressful and anxious and depressed, that he is the light for you. In this house, this room, this basement, this season, this doubting time, where we are stripped of everything, that we all felt was really important, and that we might be able to use this time to again find the very thing that is the most important. So guys, that's my prayer for you today. I hope this message finds you well. I'd love to hear back from you guys, because this is going to be posted on any place where you can find podcasts. Recommend going to Spotify and finding it there. It's also on iTunes. Any place you just search NextGen Podcast or Northside Christian Church or Northside NextGen Ministries, and we pop up. Or on YouTube. Please give us feedback. Post on our Instagram posts. Send me an email at brads@northsideweb.org, or comment on the YouTube page. What is some stuff that you guys would like to hear from us? Please respond to that, because in that and in hearing that, we will be able to really talk into that so much better, instead of just kind of taking stabs at what we think you guys, and what honestly I've been coming from what I need to hear. So guys, we love you. We're praying for you. We hope this finds you well. And please let us know what's going on out there. We'd love to hear from you, and try to just find that time today to focus on God and focus on the good things that He gives. Again, we love you guys. We'll talk to you guys soon. Hope to see you sooner rather than later. Have a good week.